With all of this, our country has tremendous potential. Let's make America great again.
First off, try to recognize that America was never great for anyone who wasn't a white guy.
You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Hey guys, Nathyn Brandon Masters, Breakfast Club Wednesdays. You know it's going to be a good one when you had to do the video several times to stop from rambling. So I'm going to try to condense all of this and make it make some kind of sense. Hopefully it works out. But I want to talk about two statements today that are utter bullshit. And one of those statements is "Make America Great Again." And the retort, America was never great, or as MTV would like to say, America was never great for anyone except white men. Both of those are bullshit statements, and they reflect what's wrong with our country, and that is the extremist views that both of them represent. There's never anything in the middle. Either it needs to be made great again, or America was never great. There's no common sense in between. So let's start with Donald Trump's Make America Great Again. Why is this a flawed statement? Well, it's a flawed statement because America is great. It just needs assholes to move out of the way, because what we find out is once we step back, all the stuff they have us doing is bullshit to keep them rich and make us poor. And we talked about this, and we talk about this all the time. We bring this up on the Breakfast Club a lot. Two divisions who are both playing for the same side, but pretending like they're not playing for the same side, pretending like, oh, we want to do something good for you. It's like, no, you don't. You never want to do anything good for us. Again, going back to Dr. Ron Paul, government is not altruistic, and what that means is government does something for a reason. It's not doing it just to be nice to you. You have two sides that are fighting amongst themselves for power, and they're not really interested in what you got going on. Make America great again. So what exactly does this mean? Now, I can both defend this statement and annihilate this statement at the same time. But I'm going to save my defense of the statement for when I go after the silly retort to the statement. Now, Donald Trump himself destroys this statement because he built his whole platform on immigration. The big deal with him, immigration. All these people trying to come into America. We need to keep them out. We need to build a wall. Or as Clinton wanted to build a fence. And I think now it's become some kind of fancy wall thing that they want to build. Some kind of fence wall. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, people are trying to come into America. They're trying to get here. They're dying to get here, literally sometimes. Some people are getting here and being sent back and coming back again because they just want to be in America. Why is that? It's because America's great. America's a great country. This place is awesome. Does that mean that there's no racism here? No, there's racism here. Does that mean bad things don't happen in America? No, bad things do happen in America. I said America was great. I didn't say America was perfect. I didn't say it couldn't do better. I said it was great. Meaning at this time, I am making money, well, not with this video because Breakfast Club is a community channel, but at the same time, in my other videos, I make money from making videos that I upload to the internet. Now, I know that if I do the things right, I may be able to do this for a living. I saw that last year. I made pretty good money doing this, so I know that this thing can work. Does it mean that it will work? No, but it can work. And that's my outlook on America in general. You may not succeed in America, but you can succeed in America. We're teaching people a really crappy outlook about America. And this is something I'm seeing on both sides. Both the right and the left have this idea that people owe them something. People owe you nothing. You're here in America. You can take advantage of everything we have here. People are dying to get here to take advantage of those things. Which brings me to another thing. That brings me to the second bullshit statement, which is America was never great. Refer to the stuff I just said. To go further into that, my parents and a lot of the older black people that talk about a time in America where things were better. Now, you would think that's odd to hear from black people, right? But black people, come on, there was racism. There is racism. Black people can never succeed in America. Well, black people did succeed in America, even when the racism was higher than it is now. As a matter of fact, I think things got a little bit worse in America when it comes to race. I mean, back in the 90s, we were kind of doing pretty good. You had a lot of black people on TV. You had a lot of black people just kind of doing their thing, you know. Black people, black culture was blowing up, and not just gangster culture, actual, you know, black people doing cool stuff. You know, we were doing pretty good. And back in my parents' day, my parents can tell you right now about my dad, God rest his soul, he was a steel worker. My mom was a nurse. They didn't have, you know, we weren't rich, but they could do some things. My dad never had to suffer having a bad car. If my dad had too many problems with a car, he was going to buy a new car because he could do that. Now, that was way back in the day before I was even born. I think one car caught fire. It was a car back in the day that was turned out to have some problems. You know, that was before they do the massive recalls and things. But there was one car my dad got, and he kept for years. And as a matter of fact, him and his friend were like the only two people that had that car. It was like a Chevy Caprice Classic or something like that. They were the only two people that had that car for that length of time, to the point where people knew them by that car and the way they had it decked out and everything like that. But eventually, when that car started giving him trouble, he went and he got a new car. And he couldn't pay it as easy as he could back in the day, but he did pay it off. And, you know, it was there. It was his car. The first time my dad ever had to buy a used car was, I think, probably, maybe 6-7 years ago. It's like that was his first ever used car. So my parents were doing okay. They weren't rich. They weren't even upper middle class, but they were doing okay. They could afford things. They could afford rent. They could afford heat. They could afford light. They could afford the basic stuff, obviously. They could have a nice car, and they could put a kid through school, that being myself, no longer a kid. But and so they did that, and they were able to do that. Even with all the bad stuff going on in America, they got to a point where they could do that. And there's a lot of Americans who remember that. And to them, that was the good old days. That's when America was great. Doesn't really have anything to do with racism. Has to do with what everybody's complaining about now. Jobs. The lack of ability to do things. The lack of ability to have money and be financially secure. Let's be real. There's a lot of money floating around in America. We spend a lot of money, but one thing Americans don't do, we don't save money, and it's harder to save money, and we're more willing to spend money on credit. Almost everybody in America has a shitty credit rating. So we have a lot of this stuff going. When people talk about the good old days, and they talk about making America great again, for the people on the left, particularly the young people on the left who act like they don't know what that is what they're talking about. In my life, I could say America was great when I used to work downtown. So, I had various jobs downtown. I was a market researcher. I did market research work for a long time. And I did those jobs because, those jobs were plentiful. Like my mom used to be able to do back in her day. There was a time when I could do that too. There was a time I literally could walk out the door of a job and walk down the street and get another job. That time existed. What happens in America is we go through phases. We go through phases where jobs are plentiful, they stop being plentiful, and then they could go back to being plentiful again. When people talk about making America great again, typically that hits everybody because everybody knows a time when America was great for them. So when you break everything down to racism, oh, they just want to be able to say bad things to black people. Now, I know there are some people who can make a living saying bad things about black people, but I don't know that to be a job description per se. That same time in America, you have a lot of white people who feel that time was great too. And if you get these black people and these white people together in a room and have them set up and start talking, they get along fine. They talk about it like, man, we did this. Oh man, we did that. And yeah, sometimes my parents would crack on something that some white people did, or some white people thought how they thought they were going to get over, or something like that. They will crack on that. But that's not to say that all in all, they didn't do well. They did do well. They did very well. And I personally would like to do at least as well or better. It's harder nowadays. That's true. It is harder. And one of the reasons it's bad is because the focus in America has changed so much. The focus is now on social justice. Everything has to be about social justice. Is there a way we can talk about social justice without turning everyone against one another? Well, yes, there's 100 ways we could do that. Thousands of ways we could do that. But it's not profitable to do. CNN, Fox News, they don't make any money doing that. But we talked about that stuff too here on the Breakfast Club. So I would like to make a statement. And this is my statement. America is great. Just needs to be tweaked a little bit. Just a little tweaking here and there. But you're always going to have a lot of the same problems because there's always going to be people who perpetuate those problems. And in the end, no, you're never going to get rid of racism. You're never going to get rid of any of those isms completely. But if people are able to work, if people are able to make their own living, if people are able to make their own way in America, then you'll see people have a better outlook on America. And this is something that I notice. The more money a person starts making, the more their mind starts changing about America. The more money a person starts making and they're able to do certain things, their mind starts changing. But if your mind is full of the idea that everybody is after you, no matter how much money you make, you're going to believe that someone's trying to stop you from making what you're making. At a time when nobody really cares that you're doing what you're doing, they just want to be left alone, just like you want to be left alone. That's my take on it, guys. You take it easy. Nathyn Brennan Masters.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side.